When you think of global finance today, perhaps you picture the towering skyscrapers of New York or the bustling trading floors of London. But nestled in the heart of Europe, surrounded by pristine lakes and snow-capped mountains, lies a city that quietly manages more wealth than almost anywhere else on Earth. This is Zurich, a place where medieval cobblestones meet cutting-edge banking technology, where ancient guild traditions still echo through ultra-modern financial institutions. Tonight, we'll uncover how a humble trading post on the shores of Lake Zurich transformed into one of the world's most powerful financial centres. We'll explore the fascinating journey of a city that survived religious wars, economic upheavals, and 2 world wars to become the beating heart of global wealth management. From its origins as a Roman customs station to its emergence as a medieval powerhouse, Zurich has always been a city that understood the art of reinvention. So just relax and let your mind drift as we explore the remarkable history of Zurich, a story of ambition, innovation, and the relentless pursuit of prosperity. The story of Zurich begins long before the first banker ever set foot in the city. In fact, if you were to stand on the shores of Lake Zurich today, watching the pristine waters lap against the carefully manicured embankments, you might struggle to imagine that this serene location was once a strategic Roman outpost. Yet beneath the modern city lies layer upon layer of history, each telling the tale of Zurich's evolution from frontier settlement to a financial giant. Archaeological evidence suggests that humans have inhabited the Zurich area for over 6,000 years. During the Neolithic period, communities of lake dwellers constructed elaborate pile houses along the shoreline, creating some of Europe's earliest urban settlements. These prehistoric inhabitants were already demonstrating the entrepreneurial spirit that would later define their city, engaging in trade networks that stretched across the Alpine region. However, the true foundations of Zurich as we know it today were laid by the Romans around the 1st century. They established a customs station called Turicum on a hill overlooking the Limmat River, strategically positioned to control trade routes between northern Europe and the Mediterranean. The Romans understood something that would prove crucial to Zurich's future success: location matters. Situated at the crossroads of major trade routes, with access to both river and lake transport, Turicum was perfectly positioned to become a commercial hub. The Roman settlement was modest by imperial standards, occupying an area roughly equivalent to today's Old Town. Yet even in these early days, the seeds of Zurich's commercial character were being sown. Roman merchants established warehouses along the riverfront, while craftsmen set up workshops to serve both local needs and passing traders. The settlement's population probably numbered no more than a few thousand, but it was already displaying the characteristics that would define Zurich for centuries to come: a focus on trade, a strategic location, and an ability to adapt to changing circumstances. As the Roman Empire began its long decline in the 4th and 5th centuries, Turicum found itself increasingly isolated from imperial authority. Yet rather than collapsing, the settlement demonstrated remarkable resilience. Local merchants and craftsmen continued their work, maintaining trade links even as political structures crumbled around them. This ability to survive and prosper during times of uncertainty would become a hallmark of Zurich's character throughout its history. The fall of the Roman Empire ushered in what historians often call the Dark Ages, though for Zurich, this period was more accurately one of transformation rather than decline. Germanic tribes, particularly the Alemanni, settled in the region, bringing with them new customs, languages, and ways of organizing society. Rather than destroying the existing settlement, these new inhabitants built upon Roman foundations, creating a unique blend of cultures that would shape Zurich's identity for generations. During the early medieval period, Christianity began to take root in the region. According to local legend, 2 Christian martyrs, Felix and Regula, were executed by the Romans near the site of present-day Zurich. The story goes that after their beheading, the martyrs picked up their heads and walked to a nearby hill before finally collapsing. Whether or not this miraculous tale has any basis in historical fact, it reflects the growing importance of Christianity in the region and the emergence of Zurich as a religious centre. By the 8th century, a monastery had been established on the supposed site of the martyrs' final resting place. This religious institution would prove crucial to Zurich's development, not just spiritually, but economically as well. Medieval monasteries were often centres of learning, agriculture and commerce, and Zurich's monastery was no exception. The monks cleared forests, drained marshlands, and established vineyards, gradually transforming the landscape around the settlement. More importantly for Zurich's future, the monastery became a major landowner and economic player in the region. It controlled vast estates, collected rents from tenant farmers, and engaged in trade activities that extended far beyond the immediate vicinity. The monastery's scriptorium produced manuscripts that were traded throughout Europe, while its workshops manufactured goods ranging from religious artifacts to everyday tools. In many ways, the monastery served as Zurich's first major financial institution, accumulating wealth and investing it in productive activities. The true birth of medieval Zurich as a commercial centre, however, came with the granting of market rights in the late 10th century. King Otto I of Germany recognised the settlement's strategic importance and officially designated it as a market town, giving local merchants the right to hold regular fairs and collect tolls from passing traders. This royal charter was more than just a piece of parchment. It was Zurich's passport to prosperity. Market towns in medieval Europe were the engines of economic growth, and Zurich quickly established itself as one of the most dynamic in the German-speaking regions. The settlement's location at the junction of major trade routes made it a natural stopping point for merchants travelling between Italy and northern Europe. Caravans loaded with silk, spices and precious metals from the south would meet traders carrying furs, amber and manufactured goods from the north. Zurich's merchants served as intermediaries in these exchanges, gradually accumulating wealth and expertise in international commerce. The market square became the beating heart of medieval Zurich, bustling with activity several days each week. Local craftsmen displayed their wares alongside exotic goods from distant lands. Money changers set up tables to exchange the bewildering variety of currencies that flowed through the town, developing skills in finance that would prove invaluable in later centuries. The air would have been filled with the sounds of different languages as merchants from across Europe conducted their business, creating a cosmopolitan atmosphere that was rare in medieval settlements. As trade flourished, Zurich's population began to grow steadily. By the 11th century, the settlement had expanded beyond its original Roman boundaries, with new neighbourhoods sprouting up along the riverfront and around the market square. Craftsmen organised themselves into guilds, professional associations that regulated trade, maintained quality standards, and provided social support for their members. These guilds would eventually become powerful political forces in Zurich, shaping the city's governance for centuries to come. The wealth generated by trade allowed Zurich's inhabitants to invest in impressive architecture. Stone houses began to replace wooden structures, while the city's churches were expanded and beautified with elaborate decorations. The construction of these buildings required skilled craftsmen and expensive materials, creating a virtuous cycle of economic activity that further boosted the settlement's prosperity. Perhaps most significantly, Zurich's merchants began to develop increasingly sophisticated financial techniques. The complexity of international trade required new methods of conducting business across vast distances. Merchants needed ways to transfer funds without physically moving heavy coins, to ensure valuable cargo against loss or theft, and to finance trading expeditions that might not yield profits for months or even years. Zurich's traders became pioneers in developing these financial innovations, laying the groundwork for the city's later emergence as a banking centre. By the 12th century, Zurich had transformed from a modest Roman outpost into one of the most important commercial centres in the Holy Roman Empire. The settlement's success was built on a combination of favourable geography, astute political manoeuvring, and the entrepreneurial energy of its inhabitants. Yet this was only the beginning of Zurich's remarkable journey. The medieval foundations that had been so carefully laid would soon support even greater ambitions as the city entered a new phase of expansion and influence. The burghers of Zurich were already displaying the characteristics that would define their city for centuries to come. A keen understanding of finance, an ability to adapt to changing circumstances, and an unwavering focus on prosperity. These qualities would serve them well in the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead, as Zurich prepared to enter its golden age as a medieval powerhouse. The 13th century marked a pivotal moment in Zurich's evolution, as the city began to assert its independence and establish itself as a major player in European politics and commerce. The Holy Roman Empire, under whose nominal authority Zurich operated, was becoming increasingly fragmented, with local rulers gaining more autonomy and power. This presented both opportunities and challenges for ambitious cities like Zurich, which found themselves navigating complex webs of allegiances and rivalries. In 1218, Zurich achieved a significant milestone when it was granted the status of a free imperial city by Emperor Frederick II. This designation meant that Zurich owed allegiance directly to the emperor rather than to any local duke or count, effectively giving the city considerable autonomy in managing its own affairs. The citizens of Zurich celebrated this achievement, understanding that their newfound freedom would allow them to pursue their commercial interests with fewer external constraints. The practical implications of imperial city status were enormous. Zurich could now mint its own coins, establish its own laws, and conduct diplomacy with other cities and rulers. The city's merchants no longer had to worry about arbitrary interference from local nobles who might impose new taxes or restrictions on trade. Instead, they could focus on what they did best, making money and expanding their commercial networks across Europe. This period saw the emergence of Zurich's first truly wealthy merchant families, dynasties that would accumulate vast fortunes through international trade and gradually transform the city's social and political landscape. These merchant princes built elaborate stone houses along the main streets, competed to fund the construction of magnificent churches, and established trading partnerships that stretched from London to Constantinople. Their success was built on a combination of shrewd business acumen, careful political manoeuvring, and an almost uncanny ability to identify profitable opportunities before their competitors. The guilds that had emerged in earlier centuries now became the dominant force in Zurich's governance. Unlike many other medieval cities where political power remained concentrated in the hands of traditional nobility, Zurich developed a unique system where craft and merchant guilds shared authority with the established elite. This arrangement reflected the city's fundamentally commercial character and ensured that those who generated wealth had a voice in how it was managed and protected. Each guild jealously guarded its particular sphere of influence and economic privileges. The goldsmiths, for instance, controlled not only the production of jewellery and decorative objects, but also much of the city's monetary exchange activities. The cloth merchants dominated the lucrative textile trade, while the wine guild oversaw one of medieval Europe's most profitable luxury markets. These organisations were more than just professional associations. They were political entities that could raise militias, negotiate treaties, and even declare war on behalf of their members' interests. The rivalry between guilds occasionally erupted into open conflict, as different groups competed for market share and political influence. Yet these disputes, while sometimes violent, also drove innovation and efficiency. Guilds that failed to adapt to changing market conditions or maintain competitive advantages quickly found themselves marginalized by more dynamic competitors. This constant pressure for improvement and adaptation would become a defining characteristic of Zurich's business culture. During this golden age of medieval commerce, Zurich's merchants pioneered several financial innovations that would later become standard practice throughout Europe. They developed sophisticated systems of credit that allowed traders to finance expeditions without tying up all their capital in a single venture. They created insurance schemes that protected valuable cargo against the numerous risks of medieval travel, from bandits and pirates to shipwrecks and natural disasters. Most importantly, they established networks of trusted partners in distant cities, creating an early version of international banking that could facilitate transactions across vast distances. The physical appearance of medieval Zurich reflected its growing prosperity and ambition. The city's skyline began to fill with church spires and guild halls, each more elaborate than the last. The narrow streets buzzed with activity as porters carried goods between warehouses, merchants negotiated deals in multiple languages, and craftsmen worked to meet the demands of an increasingly sophisticated market. The contrast with the modest settlement of earlier centuries could hardly have been more dramatic. Yet prosperity also brought new challenges and responsibilities. Zurich's wealth made it an attractive target for jealous neighbours and ambitious rulers who saw the city's independence as a threat to their own authority. The citizens found themselves forced to invest heavily in fortifications, building impressive walls and towers that could protect their accumulated wealth from external threats. They also had to maintain diplomatic relations with numerous other powers, a delicate balancing act that required considerable skill and resources. The city's location continued to be both a blessing and a potential curse. While the strategic position at the crossroads of major trade routes guaranteed a steady flow of commercial opportunities, it also meant that Zurich lay directly in the path of various political and military conflicts. The merchants who had grown rich from international trade now found themselves vulnerable to disruptions caused by wars, political upheavals, and shifting alliances throughout Europe. Religious tensions added another layer of complexity to Zurich's situation. The medieval period was marked by recurring conflicts between different Christian factions, disputes over papal authority, and the gradual emergence of reform movements that would eventually challenge the established order. Zurich's merchants, practical people, focused primarily on profit, generally tried to avoid taking sides in these theological disputes. However, they could not entirely escape the consequences of religious conflict, particularly when it affected their trading partners or disrupted established commercial relationships. The Black Death, which swept across Europe in the 14th century, presented Zurich with perhaps its greatest challenge yet. The plague devastated populations throughout the continent, disrupting trade networks and causing economic chaos in many regions. Zurich's merchants watched helplessly as some of their most important trading partners succumbed to the disease or abandoned their businesses entirely. The city's own population suffered significant losses, though its relatively isolated location and strong civic institutions helped it weather the crisis better than many other urban centres. In the aftermath of the plague, Zurich faced a fundamentally changed European landscape. Many traditional trading relationships had been severed, entire industries had collapsed, and political structures throughout the continent had been destabilised. Yet rather than retreating into isolation, Zurich's merchants saw opportunity in the chaos. They moved quickly to establish new partnerships, develop alternative supply chains, and capitalise on the reduced competition in many markets. This period of reconstruction and adaptation revealed the true character of Zurich's commercial elite. Rather than simply mourning their losses or attempting to recreate the past, they embraced change and innovation as necessary tools for survival and prosperity. They diversified their investments, explored new markets, and developed more flexible business strategies that could adapt to rapidly changing conditions. These lessons in resilience and adaptability would prove invaluable in the centuries to come. By the late 14th century, Zurich had emerged from the plague years stronger and more confident than ever. The city's merchants had not only survived one of history's greatest catastrophes, but had actually expanded their influence and wealth in its aftermath. This remarkable achievement established Zurich's reputation as a place where business could thrive even under the most challenging circumstances, an image that would attract investors and entrepreneurs for generations to come. The stage was now set for Zurich's next great transformation. The foundations of commercial expertise, financial innovation, and political independence that had been built during the medieval period would soon support even grander ambitions. As Europe entered a new age of exploration, religious reformation, and economic expansion, Zurich would find itself uniquely positioned to take advantage of the opportunities that lay ahead. Opportunities that lay ahead. As the 15th century dawned, Zurich stood at the threshold of an extraordinary transformation. The city had weathered the storms of plague and political upheaval, emerging not weakened but strengthened by adversity. Its merchants had proven their resilience, its guilds had demonstrated their political acumen, and its strategic location continued to generate opportunities for those bold enough to seize them. Yet the greatest chapters of Zurich's story were still waiting to be written. The Renaissance was beginning to sweep across Europe, bringing with it new ideas about art, science, and commerce. Italian city-states like Florence and Venice were pioneering innovative banking techniques that would revolutionize international finance. Meanwhile, the Ottoman Empire's expansion was disrupting traditional trade routes to the east, forcing European merchants to seek alternative pathways to profitable markets. These developments created both challenges and opportunities for ambitious commercial centres like Zurich. Zurich's response to these changing circumstances revealed the adaptability that had become the city's defining characteristic. Rather than clinging to established practices, the city's merchant elite embraced innovation and experimentation. They began sending representatives to study banking practices in Italian cities, learning about double-entry bookkeeping, letters of credit, and other sophisticated financial instruments that could enhance their competitive advantage. These missions were more than just fact-finding expeditions. They were strategic investments in knowledge that would pay dividends for generations. The textile industry, which had been a cornerstone of Zurich's economy since the medieval period, underwent dramatic expansion during this era. The city's weavers and cloth merchants developed new techniques for producing high-quality fabrics that could compete with the finest Italian and Flemish products. They established workshops equipped with the latest technology, including improved looms that could create intricate patterns previously impossible to achieve. The guild system, rather than stifling innovation, actually encouraged it by providing the organizational structure and capital necessary for large-scale investments in new equipment and techniques. Zurich's silk industry became particularly renowned throughout Europe. The city's artisans developed unique methods for dyeing and finishing silk that produced colors of exceptional brilliance and durability. Wealthy customers from across the continent began commissioning elaborate silk garments from Zurich workshops, creating a luxury market that generated enormous profits for the city's merchants. The reputation for quality that Zurich established during this period would become one of its most valuable assets, a brand recognition that extended far beyond textiles to encompass all manner of goods and services. The expansion of Zurich's commercial activities required increasingly sophisticated financial infrastructure. The city's money changers evolved into something resembling modern banks, offering services that went far beyond simple currency exchange. They began accepting deposits from wealthy clients, lending money to finance commercial ventures, and facilitating international payments through networks of correspondent relationships. These early banks were family enterprises, passed down from generation to generation, building reputations for reliability and discretion that would become hallmarks of Swiss banking culture. The Reformation, which began in the early 16th century, brought profound changes to Zurich that extended far beyond matters of religious doctrine. Huldrych Zwingli, the reformer who led Zurich's break with Catholic authority, was not simply a theologian, but a social revolutionary who challenged established power structures throughout Swiss society. His reforms affected everything from education and social welfare to economic organization and political governance, creating ripple effects that would influence Zurich's development for centuries to come. One of the most significant consequences of the Reformation was the dissolution of monasteries and the redistribution of their vast land holdings. These properties, which had been accumulating wealth for centuries, suddenly became available for purchase by ambitious merchants and entrepreneurs. Zurich's commercial elite moved quickly to acquire these assets, using them to expand their agricultural operations, establish new workshops, and create country estates that served both as investments and symbols of their growing social status. The religious upheaval also created new opportunities for trade and commerce. As traditional Catholic trade networks were disrupted by a religious conflict, Protestant cities like Zurich found themselves able to establish alternative commercial relationships based on shared religious and political sympathies. These new partnerships often proved more profitable than the old arrangements, as they were built on mutual trust and common interests, rather than mere convenience or geographical proximity. Education became a priority for Zurich's reformed society, with new schools and academies established to provide young citizens with the knowledge and skills necessary for success in an increasingly complex commercial environment. The curriculum included not only traditional subjects like Latin and theology, but also practical disciplines such as mathematics, accounting, and foreign languages. This investment in human capital would prove crucial to Zurich's continued economic growth, creating a workforce capable of adapting to new technologies and market conditions. The city's political structure also evolved during this period, with the guild system becoming even more central to governance. Unlike many other European cities where traditional nobility maintained political control, Zurich developed a unique form of merchant republicanism where economic success translated directly into political influence. This arrangement ensured that those who understood commerce and finance had a decisive voice in shaping policies that affected trade and economic development. Military considerations played an increasingly important role in Zurich's strategic planning during the 16th century. The city's growing wealth made it an attractive target for ambitious neighbours, while religious conflicts throughout Europe created an atmosphere of constant tension and uncertainty. Zurich's leaders responded by investing heavily in fortifications, upgrading the city's walls and defences to incorporate the latest military technologies. They also established professional militias trained in modern warfare techniques, ensuring that the city could defend its independence and prosperity against external threats. The Swiss Confederation, of which Zurich was a leading member, began to develop its reputation for military prowess during this period. Swiss mercenaries became highly sought after throughout Europe, renowned for their discipline, courage, and effectiveness in battle. This military reputation provided diplomatic leverage that Zurich's leaders used skillfully to protect their commercial interests and maintain favourable trading relationships even during times of international conflict. Banking activities continued to expand and become more sophisticated throughout the 16th and 17th centuries. Zurich's bankers developed new techniques for managing risk, including early forms of portfolio diversification and hedging strategies. They established correspondent relationships with financial institutions throughout Europe, creating networks that could facilitate complex international transactions. The discretion and reliability that characterized these operations began to attract clients from across the continent, including nobles and merchants who needed secure places to store their wealth during times of political uncertainty. The 30 Years' War, which devastated much of Central Europe between 1618 and 1648, presented Zurich with both enormous challenges and unprecedented opportunities. While the city managed to avoid direct involvement in the conflict through skillful diplomacy and strategic neutrality, the war's effects on trade and commerce were impossible to ignore. Traditional commercial relationships were disrupted, entire regions were depopulated, and political structures throughout the Holy Roman Empire were fundamentally altered. Rather than retreating from international commerce during this chaotic period, Zurich's merchants actually expanded their activities. They recognized that wartime conditions, while dangerous, also created opportunities for those bold enough to take calculated risks. They financed trading expeditions to regions less affected by the conflict, established new supply chains that bypassed war-torn territories, and provided financial services to refugees and displaced persons seeking safe havens for their assets. The war's aftermath left Zurich in an exceptionally strong position relative to many of its competitors. Cities that had been devastated by years of conflict struggled to rebuild their commercial infrastructure, while Zurich's economy had not only survived but actually grown during the period of chaos. The city's merchants found themselves with reduced competition and expanded opportunities in markets previously dominated by rivals who'd been weakened or destroyed by the war. This period also saw the emergence of Zurich's first truly international banking dynasties, families that had begun as modest cloth merchants or goldsmiths gradually expanded their operations to encompass a wide range of financial services. They established branches in other cities, developed sophisticated communication networks that could transmit information and instructions across vast distances, and created organizational structures that could coordinate complex operations involving multiple countries and currencies. The precision and reliability that characterized Zurich's emerging financial sector began to attract attention from wealthy individuals and institutions throughout Europe. The city's bankers developed reputations for absolute discretion, careful risk management, and unwavering commitment to their clients' interests. These qualities, combined with Switzerland's growing political stability and military neutrality, made Zurich an increasingly attractive destination for international capital seeking security and professional management. By the late 17th century, Zurich had established itself as one of Europe's most important financial centres. The city's transformation from a medieval trading post to a sophisticated commercial metropolis was nearly complete, though even greater changes lay ahead. The foundations of expertise, reputation, and institutional strength that had been built over centuries of gradual development would soon support Zurich's emergence as a truly global financial powerhouse. The stage was set for the next phase of Zurich's remarkable journey. The skills and relationships that had been developed through centuries of commercial evolution would prove invaluable as the world entered an age of global exploration, industrial revolution, and unprecedented economic expansion. Zurich's merchants and bankers were ready to seize the opportunities that awaited them, armed with centuries of experience and an unshakable confidence in their ability to adapt and prosper in any circumstances. The 18th century ushered in an era of unprecedented change across Europe, and Zurich found itself uniquely positioned to capitalize on the revolutionary transformations sweeping the continent. The Age of Enlightenment brought new ideas about science, philosophy, and economics, while the Industrial Revolution began reshaping how goods were produced and distributed. These developments would fundamentally alter the nature of commerce and finance, creating opportunities that Zurich's merchant elite were perfectly positioned to exploit. The expansion of global trade networks during this period opened entirely new markets for Zurich's sophisticated financial services. European powers were establishing colonies across the Americas, Africa, and Asia, creating demand for complex financing arrangements that could support long-distance trade and colonial administration. Zurich's bankers, with their centuries of experience in international commerce, found themselves ideally suited to provide the capital and expertise needed for these ambitious ventures. Coffee houses began appearing on Zurich streets during this era, serving not merely as social gathering places, but as informal centres of commercial activity. These establishments became hubs where merchants exchanged information about market conditions, negotiated deals, and formed partnerships for new ventures. The atmosphere in these coffee houses was electric with possibility, as conversations might shift seamlessly from discussions of distant wars to speculation about commodity prices to negotiations for financing expeditions to exotic destinations. The city's textile industry continued to evolve and expand throughout the 18th century, but now it was supported by increasingly mechanized production methods. Zurich's entrepreneurs were among the first in continental Europe to adopt new manufacturing technologies that had been developed in Britain. They invested heavily in improved machinery, expanded their workshops, and developed more efficient production processes that could compete with the growing industrial capacity of their rivals. Insurance emerged as a major new industry during this period, as the expansion of global trade created unprecedented demand for protection against commercial risks. Zurich's insurance companies pioneered innovative approaches to risk assessment and management, developing mathematical techniques that could calculate premiums based on careful analysis of historical data. These methods were far more sophisticated than the intuitive approaches used by earlier generations, reflecting the growing influence of Enlightenment rationalism on commercial practices. The city's bankers began to specialize in different types of financial services, creating distinct market segments that served different client needs. Some focused on trade financing, providing the short-term credit necessary to support commercial expeditions. Others concentrated on wealth management, offering secure storage and professional investment services to wealthy individuals seeking to preserve and grow their fortunes. Still others specialized in currency exchange and international payments, facilitating the increasingly complex web of transactions that connected European markets with distant colonies. Political developments throughout Europe created new challenges and opportunities for Zurich's financial sector. The French Revolution and the subsequent Napoleonic Wars disrupted traditional power structures and commercial relationships across the continent. Yet rather than retreating from international activities, Zurich's bankers actually expanded their operations, recognizing that periods of political upheaval often created the greatest opportunities for those with the resources and expertise to navigate uncertain conditions. The concept of banking secrecy, which would later become synonymous with Swiss finance, began to take more definite shape during this tumultuous period. Wealthy individuals fleeing political persecution or economic chaos in their home countries sought secure places to store their assets, and Zurich's bankers developed increasingly sophisticated methods for protecting client confidentiality. This discretion was not merely a business practice, but a moral imperative, reflecting Swiss values of privacy and individual rights that had been developing for centuries. Zurich's population continued to grow throughout the 18th century, swelled by immigrants attracted by the city's economic opportunities and political stability. These newcomers brought fresh ideas and energy to the city's commercial life, while also creating demand for new goods and services. The city's physical infrastructure expanded to accommodate this growth, with new neighbourhoods constructed beyond the medieval walls and improved roads built to facilitate commerce with surrounding regions. The guild system, which had governed Zurich's economic life for centuries, began to evolve in response to changing conditions. While guilds remained important centres of political and social organisation, their economic role became less restrictive as market forces demanded greater flexibility and innovation. Entrepreneurs found new ways to circumvent traditional guild limitations, creating hybrid business structures that could adapt more readily to rapidly changing market conditions. Education became an increasingly important factor in Zurich's economic success during this period. The city's schools and academies expanded their curricula to include subjects directly relevant to commercial success, such as modern languages, advanced mathematics, and natural philosophy. Young Zurichers were encouraged to travel abroad to gain experience in other markets, while foreign students came to Zurich to learn from its renowned merchants and bankers. The development of improved communication systems revolutionized how business was conducted across Europe. Regular postal services made it possible to coordinate complex transactions over vast distances, while newspapers and commercial publications provided merchants with timely information about market conditions throughout the continent. Zurich's commercial community was among the first to recognize the strategic value of superior information, investing heavily in communication networks that gave them crucial advantages over slower-moving competitors. Banking partnerships became increasingly sophisticated during this era, as individual institutions recognized the benefits of cooperation in serving large-scale international clients. Zurich's banks formed alliances with counterparts in other financial centres, creating networks that could provide seamless service across multiple countries and currencies. These partnerships were based on carefully negotiated agreements that specified each institution's responsibilities and share of profits, reflecting the growing complexity of international finance. The emergence of stock exchanges in major European cities created new opportunities for Zurich's financial sector. While the city did not initially establish its own exchange, Zurich's bankers became active participants in markets elsewhere, using their expertise in risk assessment and client relationships to generate profits from securities trading. They also began advising wealthy clients on investment strategies, developing early forms of portfolio management that would later become standard practice throughout the industry. Manufacturing continued to play an important role in Zurich's economy, but it was increasingly integrated with financial services in ways that created competitive advantages for the city's businesses. Manufacturers could obtain financing more easily and at better terms than competitors in other cities, while banks could offer their clients investment opportunities in promising industrial ventures. This symbiotic relationship between manufacturing and finance would become a defining characteristic of Zurich's economic model. The Napoleonic period brought both tremendous challenges and unprecedented opportunities to Zurich's financial community. The French occupation of Switzerland disrupted traditional political arrangements and threatened the city's cherished independence. Yet Zurich's bankers demonstrated remarkable adaptability, finding ways to continue serving their clients even under foreign rule, while positioning themselves to benefit from the eventual restoration of Swiss autonomy. During this turbulent era, many of Europe's traditional financial centres were disrupted by war and political upheaval. Amsterdam's dominance in international finance was weakened by the British blockade of continental ports, while German and Italian banking centres struggled with the chaos of constantly shifting political boundaries. Zurich, despite the challenges it faced, actually strengthened its position relative to many competitors, as clients sought the stability and continuity that Swiss institutions could provide. The city's reputation for political neutrality began to emerge as a major competitive advantage during this period. While other financial centres were associated with particular national interests or political factions, Zurich's bankers could present themselves as impartial professionals focused solely on serving their clients' financial interests. This neutrality was not merely a matter of convenience, but reflected deeply held Swiss values about sovereignty and independence that resonated with international clients. By the early 19th century, Zurich had established itself as one of Europe's most important financial centres, though its greatest period of growth still lay ahead. The foundations had been carefully laid through centuries of commercial evolution, political development, and institutional innovation. The city's bankers had developed unparalleled expertise in international finance, while its manufacturers had mastered the art of producing high-quality goods for demanding global markets. The Industrial Revolution was gathering momentum across Europe, creating demand for unprecedented amounts of capital to finance new factories, transportation systems, and communication networks. Zurich's financial institutions were ideally positioned to meet this demand, having developed both the technical expertise and the client relationships necessary to mobilize large-scale investment. The stage was set for the city's transformation into a truly global financial powerhouse. As the 19th century dawned, Zurich stood on the threshold of its greatest period of expansion and influence. The skills that had been developed over centuries of gradual evolution would now be tested on a global stage as the city's merchants and bankers prepared to compete with the most sophisticated financial centres in the world. The results of this competition would determine whether Zurich could fulfill its destiny as one of the world's premier financial capitals. The dawn of the industrial age brought transformations to Zurich that would have been unimaginable to the medieval merchants who first established the city's commercial foundations. Steam engines began appearing in textile mills along the Limmat River, their rhythmic pounding creating a new soundtrack for urban life. Yet rather than simply adopting foreign innovations, Zurich's entrepreneurs displayed their characteristic ingenuity by improving upon imported technologies and developing uniquely Swiss approaches to industrial production. The precision manufacturing that would later become synonymous with Swiss craftsmanship emerged during this pivotal era. Clockmakers, who had been perfecting their art for generations, began applying their meticulous attention to detail to the production of industrial machinery. These craftsmen understood that in a competitive global marketplace, success would belong to those who could consistently deliver products of exceptional quality and reliability. This philosophy of precision and excellence gradually permeated all aspects of Zurich's manufacturing sector. Railway construction across Europe created enormous opportunities for capital investment, and Zurich's bankers were among the first to recognize the transformative potential of this new transportation technology. They financed railway projects not only within Switzerland but throughout continental Europe, developing expertise in large-scale infrastructure financing that would prove invaluable in future decades. The complexity of railway finance required new forms of risk assessment and project management that pushed Zurich's financial institutions to develop increasingly sophisticated analytical capabilities. The establishment of regular railway connections between Zurich and other major European cities revolutionized the pace of business communication and travel. What had once required weeks of dangerous travel could now be accomplished in days of comfortable railway journeys. Zurich's merchants and bankers took full advantage of this improved connectivity, establishing permanent offices in other financial centres and maintaining much closer relationships with international clients than had previously been possible. Immigration accelerated dramatically during this period as word of Zurich's economic opportunities spread throughout Europe. Skilled craftsmen arrived from Germany and France, bringing with them advanced techniques and fresh perspectives that enriched the city's industrial base. Ambitious young men from across the German-speaking regions sought positions in Zurich's banks and trading houses, viewing the city as the ideal place to build successful careers in commerce and finance. The social fabric of Zurich began to reflect its growing prosperity and international connections. Elegant mansions appeared in new residential districts, their architecture blending Swiss traditions with cosmopolitan influences absorbed from other European capitals. The city's cultural life flourished as wealthy merchants and bankers became patrons of the arts, funding concerts, exhibitions, and literary societies that enhanced Zurich's reputation as a centre of refinement and sophistication. Banking operations became increasingly specialised during the mid-19th century, as different institutions carved out distinct market niches. Some banks focused exclusively on trade financing, developing unparalleled expertise in the complex documentation and risk assessment required for international commerce. Others concentrated on private wealth management, creating discreet and highly personalised services for Europe's aristocratic families and nouveau riche industrialists. The concept of the Swiss bank account began to take on legendary proportions during this era, as stories circulated throughout European high society about the absolute discretion and unshakable security provided by Zurich's financial institutions. These stories were not mere marketing fabrications, but reflected genuine commitment to client confidentiality that had deep roots in Swiss culture and law. The reputation for trustworthiness that Zurich's banks cultivated during this period would prove to be one of their most valuable competitive advantages. Currency trading emerged as a particularly profitable specialization for Zurich's financial sector. The city's strategic location at the crossroads of major European trade routes meant that multiple currencies flowed through its markets daily, creating constant arbitrage opportunities for skilled traders. Zurich's currency specialists developed mathematical models and market analysis techniques that were far ahead of their time, enabling them to profit from small price discrepancies that less sophisticated competitors failed to notice. The cotton textile industry, which had been a mainstay of Zurich's economy for centuries, underwent dramatic modernization during this period. New spinning and weaving technologies imported from Britain were combined with traditional Swiss craftsmanship to create products that commanded premium prices in international markets. Zurich's textile manufacturers pioneered innovative marketing techniques, establishing showrooms in major European cities and developing brand recognition that distinguished their products from cheaper competitors. Insurance companies based in Zurich began expanding their operations beyond traditional maritime and fire coverage to offer protection for the novel risks created by industrial society. They developed policies covering railway accidents, industrial equipment failures, and other hazards that had not existed in earlier eras. The mathematical sophistication required for accurate risk assessment in these new areas pushed Zurich's insurance industry to the forefront of actuarial science and statistical analysis. The pharmaceutical industry began to emerge as an important sector of Zurich's economy during this period, building upon the city's long tradition of precision manufacturing and quality control. Local entrepreneurs recognized that the growing wealth and health consciousness of European society created opportunities for companies that could produce reliable medications and health products. These early pharmaceutical ventures combined scientific research with commercial acumen in ways that would later become characteristic of Swiss industry. International exhibitions and trade fairs became important venues for showcasing Zurich's industrial and financial capabilities to potential clients and partners from around the world. The city's manufacturers and service providers invested heavily in elaborate displays that demonstrated both their technical competence and their aesthetic sophistication. These exhibitions served not only as marketing opportunities, but as intelligence-gathering exercises that helped Zurich's businesses stay abreast of developments in other markets. The establishment of technical schools and commercial academies reflected Zurich's commitment to maintaining its competitive edge through superior education and training. These institutions offered curricula specifically designed to prepare young people for careers in banking, manufacturing, and international trade. Graduates of these programs were highly sought after by employers throughout Europe, creating a valuable export market for Zurich's educational services, while also ensuring a steady supply of skilled workers for local industries. Political developments across Europe continued to create opportunities for Zurich's financial sector throughout the 19th century. The unification of Germany created a large, wealthy market with enormous capital needs, while the expansion of European colonial empires generated demand for financing arrangements that could support long-distance trade and administrative operations. Zurich's banks positioned themselves as neutral intermediaries capable of serving clients regardless of their national or political affiliations. The Franco-Prussian War of 1870–71 demonstrated once again the value of Swiss neutrality in attracting international capital during times of crisis. Wealthy French citizens moved substantial assets to Zurich banks for safekeeping during the conflict, while German industrialists sought Swiss financing for projects that might have been difficult to fund through domestic sources. This influx of crisis-driven deposits provided Zurich's banks with substantial new resources that they invested in expanding their operations and capabilities. Engineering consulting emerged as a new specialty during this period, as Zurich's reputation for technical precision attracted clients seeking advice on complex industrial projects throughout Europe and beyond. Swiss engineers were particularly sought after for railway construction, bridge building, and other infrastructure projects that required both technical expertise and absolute reliability. The success of these consulting ventures enhanced Switzerland's reputation for engineering excellence while generating substantial revenues for Zurich-based firms. The development of telegraph communications revolutionized international finance by enabling near-instantaneous transmission of market information and transaction instructions across vast distances. Zurich's banks were among the first to recognize the strategic importance of superior communications, investing heavily in telegraph networks that gave them crucial advantages in currency trading and international arbitrage. The ability to react quickly to market developments became a defining characteristic of Swiss financial institutions. Private banking services became increasingly sophisticated during the latter half of the 19th century, as Zurich's financial institutions developed highly personalized approaches to serving wealthy international clients. These services went far beyond simple asset storage to include comprehensive financial planning, investment advice, and even personal concierge services for clients traveling throughout Europe. The relationships developed through these intimate banking arrangements often lasted for generations, creating enormous loyalty and trust that proved invaluable during times of economic uncertainty. The gold trade emerged as a particularly important specialization for Zurich's financial sector during this era. Switzerland's political neutrality and strong currency made it an ideal location for international gold trading, while the technical expertise of local refiners and assayers ensured that Swiss gold products met the highest quality standards. Zurich's gold dealers developed relationships with mining companies, central banks, and private collectors throughout the world, establishing the city as a major hub in the global precious metals trade. By the 1890s, Zurich had clearly established itself among the front rank of European financial centres, rivaling London, Paris, and Berlin in terms of international influence and sophistication. The city's banks managed assets for clients throughout Europe and beyond, while its insurance companies provided coverage for risks spanning multiple continents. The industrial base that supported this financial superstructure had evolved from traditional crafts to cutting-edge manufacturing enterprises that competed successfully in global markets. The approaching turn of the century brought both tremendous optimism and underlying tensions to European society. Technological progress seemed to promise unlimited prosperity, while growing international competition and imperial rivalries created the potential for catastrophic conflicts. Zurich's business community watched these developments with careful attention, understanding that their city's future would depend upon navigating successfully through whatever challenges the new century might bring. The foundations that had been laid through a century of steady development would soon be tested by upheavals that would reshape the entire global economy. 2 world wars, the collapse of empires, and revolutionary changes in technology and communication would create both enormous risks and unprecedented opportunities for those bold enough to seize them. Zurich's merchants and bankers had spent generations preparing for such challenges, developing the skills, relationships, and institutional strength that would be essential for survival and success in an increasingly turbulent world. As the 20th century dawned, Zurich stood poised to enter the most dramatic phase of its remarkable evolution. The city that had begun as a modest Roman trading post was about to embark upon its transformation into one of the world's most powerful financial capitals, a metamorphosis that would test every lesson learned during centuries of gradual development and careful preparation. The 20th century arrived with a sense of boundless possibility, yet beneath the surface optimism lay currents of tension that would soon reshape the entire European order. Zurich entered this new era with confidence born of centuries of successful adaptation, its financial institutions more sophisticated than ever, and its reputation for reliability established across the continent. Yet the challenges that awaited would test every assumption about how international commerce and finance should operate. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo sent shockwaves through European financial markets that reverberated all the way to Zurich's banking halls. Within weeks, the carefully constructed web of international trade relationships that had taken generations to build began unraveling with terrifying speed. Yet rather than panicking, Zurich's financial elite demonstrated the same calm pragmatism that had served their ancestors through previous crises. They understood that while war might disrupt existing arrangements, it would also create entirely new opportunities for those prepared to adapt. The Great War brought unprecedented challenges to neutral Switzerland. Traditional trade routes were severed overnight as nations imposed blockades and diverted resources to military production. Currencies fluctuated wildly as governments printed money to finance their war efforts, creating chaos in international exchange markets. Many European financial centres found themselves crippled by the conflict, unable to serve international clients or maintain their normal operations. Zurich's response to these extraordinary circumstances revealed the true depth of expertise that had been accumulated over centuries of commercial evolution. The city's banks quickly repositioned themselves as havens of stability in a world gone mad with conflict. They offered secure storage for assets belonging to clients from warring nations, maintaining strict neutrality while providing essential financial services that kept international commerce functioning despite the chaos surrounding them. Currency arbitrage became enormously profitable during the war years, as exchange rates fluctuated dramatically in response to military developments and political upheavals. Zurich's traders, with their generations of experience in international markets, were ideally positioned to profit from these volatile conditions. They developed increasingly sophisticated techniques for hedging risk and timing transactions, accumulating vast profits that would later be invested in expanding their operations and capabilities. The refugee crisis created by the war brought both humanitarian challenges and unexpected business opportunities to Zurich. Wealthy individuals fleeing the conflict sought safe havens for their assets, while displaced entrepreneurs looked for new bases from which to rebuild their enterprises. Zurich's banks developed specialized services for these clients, offering not only secure storage, but comprehensive assistance in rebuilding financial lives disrupted by war. Industrial production in Zurich adapted quickly to wartime conditions, as manufacturers shifted from luxury goods to essential supplies needed by combatant nations. Swiss precision manufacturing proved invaluable for producing specialized equipment and components that warring armies required. The profits from these military contracts provided capital that would later fund peacetime expansion and technological innovation. The collapse of several major European currencies during and immediately after the war demonstrated the value of Switzerland's conservative monetary policies. While other nations struggled with hyperinflation and currency instability, the Swiss franc maintained its value and international credibility. This stability made Zurich an increasingly attractive location for international financial operations, as clients sought the security that only stable currencies could provide. The Russian Revolution sent additional shockwaves through European financial markets as one of the continent's largest economies suddenly withdrew from the international system. Russian aristocrats and business leaders who managed to escape the Bolshevik takeover brought substantial assets to Swiss banks, contributing to a massive influx of refugee capital that provided Zurich's financial institutions with unprecedented resources for expansion. Technological innovations accelerated during the war years, as military necessity drove rapid development in communications, transportation, and manufacturing. Zurich's entrepreneurs were among the first to recognize the commercial potential of these innovations, investing heavily in new technologies that would provide competitive advantages in the post-war economy. Radio communications, improved printing techniques, and more efficient transportation systems all contributed to enhancing the city's position as a financial centre. The peace negotiations that followed the armistice created enormous opportunities for financial intermediaries capable of facilitating the complex transactions required for European reconstruction. War reparations, territorial adjustments, and currency stabilization all required sophisticated financial arrangements that drew upon exactly the kind of expertise that Zurich's banks had been developing for generations. Swiss financial institutions found themselves playing crucial roles in negotiations that would reshape the entire continental economy. The establishment of the League of Nations in Geneva enhanced Switzerland's international profile and created additional opportunities for Zurich's financial sector. International organizations required banking services, while the presence of diplomats and international civil servants in nearby Geneva created demand for the kind of discreet private banking services that had become Zurich's specialty. The city's bankers quickly established relationships with this new international elite, providing services that went far beyond traditional commercial banking. Hyperinflation in Germany during the early 1920s provided dramatic illustration of the value that stable currencies and conservative financial management could provide. As the German mark became worthless, wealthy Germans transferred enormous assets to Swiss banks, seeking the security that only stable institutions could offer. This crisis-driven capital flight provided Zurich's banks with massive new resources while demonstrating their value as safe havens during times of economic chaos. The pharmaceutical industry, which had emerged as a minor sector of Zurich's economy in the previous century, began its transformation into a major global force during the 1920s. Swiss companies pioneered new approaches to drug development and manufacturing that combined scientific rigor with commercial sophistication. The profits from pharmaceutical innovation provided capital for further expansion while establishing Switzerland's reputation for excellence in high-technology industries. Art markets flourished during the post-war period, as newly wealthy individuals sought to invest in cultural artifacts that could provide both aesthetic pleasure and long-term value preservation. Zurich's banks developed specialized services for art collectors, offering secure storage, insurance, and authentication services that made the city a major hub in the international art trade. These services attracted clients from around the world while generating substantial revenues for the financial sector. The development of skiing as a popular recreational activity created unexpected opportunities for Swiss tourism and hospitality industries. Wealthy Europeans and Americans began visiting Swiss resorts during winter months, many of them combining recreational travel with business meetings at Zurich's banks. This integration of tourism with financial services created unique competitive advantages that distinguished Swiss institutions from their competitors in other countries. International exhibitions and conferences became increasingly important venues for showcasing Swiss expertise and establishing new business relationships. Zurich's business community invested heavily in these events, recognizing that reputation and personal connections remained crucial factors in international finance despite the growing importance of technological communication systems. The relationships established at such gatherings often lasted for decades, providing foundations for enormously profitable business partnerships. The stock market boom of the late 1920s created unprecedented opportunities for securities trading and investment management. Zurich's banks expanded their capabilities in these areas, developing sophisticated analytical techniques and trading strategies that enabled them to serve both institutional and individual investors seeking exposure to rapidly growing American and European markets. The expertise developed during this period would prove invaluable when market conditions became more challenging. Educational institutions continued to play crucial roles in maintaining Zurich's competitive advantages, as technical schools and commercial academies adapted their curricula to reflect the changing requirements of modern business. Exchange programs with institutions in other countries brought fresh perspectives to Swiss education, while spreading awareness of Swiss capabilities throughout the international business community. Graduates of these programs became ambassadors for Swiss methods and values wherever their careers took them. The emergence of aviation as a practical means of transportation began to reduce the isolation that had historically characterized Swiss society. Business leaders could now travel quickly between major European cities, maintaining personal relationships and gathering market intelligence in ways that had been impossible in earlier eras. Zurich's banks were among the first to recognize the strategic value of superior mobility, investing in aviation infrastructure and services that enhanced their ability to serve international clients. Corporate consulting emerged as a new specialty during this period, as businesses throughout Europe sought advice on adapting to rapidly changing market conditions and technological innovations. Swiss consultants, with their reputation for analytical rigor and practical problem-solving, found ready markets for their services throughout the continent. These consulting relationships often led to long-term banking arrangements that proved enormously profitable for Zurich's financial institutions. The Great Depression that began in 1929 tested every assumption about how modern economies should function. Stock markets collapsed, banks failed, and unemployment soared throughout the industrialized world. Yet once again, Zurich's financial institutions demonstrated the resilience that had characterized their response to previous crises. Conservative lending practices, diversified operations, and strong capital reserves enabled them to weather the storm, while many competitors struggled for survival. Rather than retreating during the Depression, Zurich's banks actually expanded their operations in certain areas, recognizing that economic distress created opportunities for those with the resources and expertise to take advantage of them. They acquired assets at distressed prices, provided financing for businesses that other lenders had abandoned, and offered employment to talented individuals whose previous employers had failed. These counter-cyclical investments positioned them perfectly for the economic recovery that would eventually follow. The rise of fascism in Germany and Italy created new challenges for Swiss neutrality, while also generating additional demand for the discrete financial services that had become Zurich's specialty. Political refugees, Jewish business families, and others threatened by authoritarian regimes sought safe havens for their assets, contributing to another massive influx of capital that provided Swiss banks with unprecedented resources. The moral complexities of serving clients fleeing political persecution would later generate considerable controversy, but during the 1930s these relationships were viewed primarily as business opportunities. Currency controls imposed by various European governments during the Depression created artificial market distortions that skilled traders could exploit profitably. Zurich's foreign exchange specialists developed increasingly sophisticated techniques for navigating these complex regulatory environments while providing clients with access to international markets that might otherwise have been closed to them. The expertise developed during this period would prove invaluable during the even more challenging conditions that lay ahead. Industrial diversification accelerated during the 1930s as Swiss companies expanded beyond their traditional specialties into new sectors that offered greater growth potential. Precision instruments, specialized machinery, and advanced chemicals all became important components of the Swiss industrial base. These developments not only provided employment and economic growth, but also enhanced Switzerland's reputation for technological innovation and manufacturing excellence. The development of international law as a distinct professional specialty created new opportunities for Swiss legal and financial services. The country's tradition of neutrality and its sophisticated legal system made it an ideal location for international arbitration and dispute resolution. Swiss banks developed specialized capabilities for managing assets involved in complex international legal proceedings, creating another niche market that distinguished them from competitors in other countries. As the 1930s drew to a close, storm clouds were once again gathering over Europe. The aggressive expansionism of Nazi Germany and the obvious failure of collective security arrangements suggested that another catastrophic war might be inevitable. Zurich's business community watched these developments with the same careful attention their predecessors had devoted to earlier crises, understanding that their city's future would once again depend upon successfully navigating through whatever challenges lay ahead. The lessons learned during previous periods of upheaval had been carefully preserved and transmitted through generations of Swiss bankers and merchants. They understood that while wars and economic crises might disrupt existing arrangements, they also created opportunities for those prepared to adapt quickly to changing circumstances. The institutional strength and expertise that had been built over centuries of gradual development would soon face their greatest test yet, as the world prepared for a conflict that would dwarf all previous wars in its scope and destructiveness. Yet beneath the surface, anxiety lay quiet confidence, born of centuries of successful adaptation. Zurich had survived and prospered through the collapse of empires, religious wars, plagues, and economic depressions. Its merchants and bankers had consistently demonstrated an almost uncanny ability to find opportunities in the midst of chaos while maintaining the stability and reliability that their clients valued above all else. As the world stood on the brink of another catastrophic conflict, Zurich was as prepared as any city could be for the challenges that lay ahead. The Second World War erupted across Europe with a ferocity that dwarfed even the Great War. Yet Zurich's response demonstrated the same calculated pragmatism that had served the city through centuries of upheaval. As German armies swept across the continent and London endured the Blitz, Switzerland found itself completely surrounded by Axis powers, a small island of neutrality in an ocean of conflict. This precarious position required extraordinary diplomatic skill and unwavering commitment to the principles that had guided Swiss policy for generations. The banking halls of Zurich took on an almost surreal quality during the war years, as representatives of warring nations sometimes found themselves conducting business in adjacent offices, separated only by Swiss discretion and professional neutrality. The city's financial institutions developed increasingly sophisticated protocols for managing these delicate situations, ensuring that their services remained available to all clients, regardless of political affiliations, while scrupulously avoiding any actions that might compromise Swiss neutrality. Capital flight. During the war years reached unprecedented levels, as wealthy individuals and institutions throughout occupied Europe sought secure locations for their assets. Swiss banks found themselves managing enormous influxes of deposits from clients fleeing Nazi persecution, resistance fighters seeking to preserve resources for post-war reconstruction, and multinational corporations attempting to protect their assets from wartime confiscation. Each category of client presented unique challenges and opportunities that tested every aspect of Swiss banking expertise. The complexity of wartime financial operations pushed Zurich's institutions to develop new levels of sophistication in their procedures and systems. Currency trading became extraordinarily challenging as exchange rates fluctuated wildly in response to military developments, while traditional banking relationships were severed by political considerations and wartime restrictions. Swiss bankers responded by creating innovative financial instruments and developing alternative communication networks that could function even under the most difficult circumstances. Industrial production throughout Switzerland adapted to wartime conditions with remarkable flexibility, as manufacturers shifted between civilian and military applications depending upon market demands and political considerations. Zurich's precision engineering companies found their products in high demand from all sides of the conflict, creating moral dilemmas that required careful navigation while generating enormous profits that would fuel post-war expansion. The technical expertise developed during this period would prove invaluable in the competitive environment that emerged after peace was restored. Intelligence gathering became an unofficial but crucial function of Swiss financial institutions during the war, as their international connections provided unique insights into economic and political developments throughout occupied Europe. Bankers who had spent their careers focused solely on commercial considerations now found themselves possessing information that could influence military strategy and diplomatic negotiations. The discretion that had always characterized Swiss banking culture proved invaluable in managing these sensitive responsibilities. The development of new communication technologies during the war years revolutionized how international finance could operate under adverse conditions. Swiss banks invested heavily in radio communications, coded messaging systems, and other innovations that enabled them to maintain contact with clients and correspondents, even when traditional channels were disrupted. These technological investments provided competitive advantages that would persist long after the war ended. Refugee assistance programs developed by Swiss institutions during the war created new categories of financial services that would later evolve into important business lines. Banks learned to provide comprehensive support for displaced persons, including asset recovery, family reunification assistance, and help with establishing new lives in foreign countries. These humanitarian services, while initially undertaken primarily for moral reasons, generated substantial goodwill and long-term client relationships that proved enormously valuable. The pharmaceutical industry continued its transformation during the war years, as Swiss companies developed new drugs and medical supplies that were desperately needed by military and civilian populations throughout Europe. The profits from these activities provided capital for research and development that would position Swiss pharmaceutical companies as global leaders in the post-war period. The combination of scientific expertise and commercial acumen that characterized these enterprises became a model for other high-technology industries. Art and cultural artifact preservation emerged as an unexpected specialty for Swiss institutions during the war, as museums, collectors, and cultural organizations sought secure storage for irreplaceable treasures threatened by bombing and looting. Swiss banks developed specialized facilities and expertise for protecting these cultural assets, creating relationships with the international arts community that would generate substantial business opportunities in later decades. The collapse of traditional European power structures during the war created opportunities for Swiss institutions to expand their influence in ways that would have been impossible under normal circumstances. As established financial centres in London, Paris and Berlin struggled with wartime disruptions, Zurich's banks found themselves serving clients and managing transactions that might previously have been handled elsewhere. These temporary arrangements often became permanent relationships that persisted long after the war ended. Currency stabilization efforts during the latter stages of the war required unprecedented cooperation between central banks and commercial institutions throughout the Allied nations. Swiss financial institutions, with their reputation for neutrality and technical expertise, found themselves playing crucial roles in these complex negotiations. The experience gained in managing large-scale international monetary arrangements would prove invaluable during the post-war reconstruction period. The emergence of the United States as the dominant global economic power fundamentally altered the international financial landscape in ways that required rapid adaptation by European institutions. Swiss banks quickly established operations in New York and other American financial centers, recognizing that future success would require strong relationships with American clients and counterparts. These transatlantic connections opened entirely new markets while providing access to the capital and expertise needed for global expansion. Post-war reconstruction efforts throughout Europe created enormous demand for the kind of long-term development financing that had become a Swiss specialty. War-damaged countries needed capital for rebuilding infrastructure, restarting industrial production, and creating new institutions appropriate for the modern world. Swiss banks found themselves managing reconstruction programs that dwarfed any previous development projects in their scope and complexity. The establishment of new international organizations in the aftermath of the war enhanced Switzerland's position as a neutral meeting ground for global cooperation. The presence of United Nations agencies, international courts, and various specialized organizations created demand for sophisticated financial services, while attracting a new category of international civil servants who required discreet private banking arrangements. Swiss institutions quickly adapted their services to meet these unique requirements. The Bretton Woods monetary system, established in 1944, created a new framework for international currency relationships that profoundly affected how global finance operated. Swiss banks, while not directly bound by the agreement due to Switzerland's non-membership in the International Monetary Fund, found themselves operating within a more stable and predictable exchange rate environment that facilitated long-term planning and investment. The expertise developed in navigating this new system would prove crucial as international monetary arrangements evolved over subsequent decades. Decolonization movements throughout Africa, Asia, and the Americas created both challenges and opportunities for Swiss financial institutions. Traditional colonial relationships that had channeled wealth through London and Paris began to shift as newly independent nations sought alternative arrangements for managing their international financial affairs. Swiss banks, with their reputation for neutrality and professional competence, found themselves well positioned to serve these emerging markets. The The development of multinational corporations during the 1950s and 1960s created unprecedented demand for sophisticated international financial services. Companies that operated in multiple countries required banking arrangements that could coordinate complex transactions across different currencies, legal systems, and regulatory environments. Swiss institutions pioneered many of the techniques that would later become standard practice in multinational corporate finance. Technological innovation accelerated dramatically during the post-war period, as scientific discoveries made during the war were adapted for civilian applications. Swiss companies, with their tradition of precision manufacturing and quality control, found themselves ideally positioned to capitalize on these developments. The electronics industry, in particular, offered enormous opportunities for enterprises that could combine technical expertise with superior marketing and distribution capabilities. The emergence of jet aircraft as practical means of transportation revolutionized how international business could be conducted. Swiss bankers could now travel quickly between major financial centers, maintaining personal relationships and gathering market intelligence in ways that had been impossible during earlier eras. The ability to provide face-to-face service to clients throughout the world became a crucial, competitive advantage that distinguished Swiss institutions from their less mobile competitors. Educational exchanges and professional development programs became increasingly important tools for maintaining Switzerland's competitive advantages in the global marketplace. Swiss universities and technical schools attracted students from around the world, while Swiss professionals gained experience in foreign markets that enhanced their understanding of international business practices. These educational relationships often led to long-term business partnerships that generated substantial revenues for Swiss institutions. The space race between the United States and Soviet Union created unexpected opportunities for Swiss precision manufacturing companies, as both sides sought the highest quality components for their aerospace programs. Swiss firms developed specialized capabilities in areas such as precision timing devices, navigation instruments, and life support systems that were crucial for space exploration. The technological expertise gained through these programs had numerous civilian applications that enhanced Swiss competitiveness in other industries. Environmental concerns began emerging as significant factors in business decision-making during the 1960s as pollution and resource depletion became increasingly visible problems in industrialized nations. Swiss companies, with their tradition of quality and precision, found themselves well positioned to develop cleaner technologies and more efficient production processes. Environmental consciousness became another distinguishing characteristic of Swiss industry that attracted environmentally aware clients and investors. The development of computer technology during the 1960s and 1970s began to transform how financial institutions operated, offering opportunities for those quick enough to adapt while threatening those who clung to traditional methods. Swiss banks were among the early adopters of computer systems for transaction processing, client record management, and market analysis. The combination of technological sophistication with traditional Swiss values of discretion and reliability created powerful competitive advantages. Currency crises throughout the 1970s, culminating in the collapse of the Bretton Woods system, created enormous volatility in international exchange markets, while also generating unprecedented opportunities for skilled currency traders. Swiss financial institutions, with their centuries of experience in foreign exchange operations, found themselves ideally positioned to profit from these turbulent conditions while providing stability and expertise that their clients desperately needed. The oil crises of the 1970s fundamentally altered global economic relationships, creating new centers of wealth in oil-producing nations while challenging traditional assumptions about energy and economic growth. Swiss banks quickly established relationships with newly wealthy oil exporters, providing investment management services and financial expertise that helped these nations diversify their economies beyond petroleum production. These relationships opened entirely new markets while providing access to enormous pools of investment capital. Private banking services reached new levels of sophistication during this period as Swiss institutions developed comprehensive wealth management programs that addressed every aspect of their clients' financial lives. These services went far beyond traditional banking to include investment advice, tax planning, estate management, and even personal security arrangements for ultra-wealthy individuals. The discretion and expertise that characterized these services made Swiss private banks the preferred choice for wealthy individuals throughout the world. The emergence of offshore financial centers in various parts of the world created new competition for Swiss institutions, as other jurisdictions sought to replicate the success that Switzerland had achieved in attracting international capital. Rather than viewing this development as a threat, Swiss banks adapted by establishing their own operations in these emerging centers, while emphasizing the unique advantages that Switzerland continued to offer. The combination of political stability, legal sophistication, and cultural values that characterize Switzerland proved difficult for competitors to replicate. Merger and acquisition activity accelerated throughout the global economy during the 1980s and 1990s, creating enormous demand for the kind of sophisticated financial advisory services that had become a Swiss specialty. Investment banks based in Zurich found themselves managing some of the largest and most complex corporate transactions in history, combining their traditional strengths in relationship management with cutting-edge analytical capabilities. These activities generated enormous fees while establishing Swiss institutions as major players in global capital markets. The collapse of communist governments throughout Eastern Europe created unprecedented opportunities for financial institutions capable of providing expertise and capital for economic transformation. Swiss banks, with their experience in managing complex international transactions and their reputation for political neutrality, found themselves playing crucial roles in the privatization programs and economic reforms that followed the fall of the Berlin Wall. These activities opened entirely new markets while demonstrating the value of Swiss expertise in managing large-scale economic transitions. Financial innovation accelerated dramatically during the final decades of the 20th century, as institutions developed increasingly sophisticated instruments for managing risk and enhancing returns. Swiss banks were at the forefront of these developments, creating new types of derivative products, structured investments, and risk management tools that became standard components of modern portfolio management. The mathematical sophistication required for these innovations built upon Switzerland's long tradition of precision and analytical rigor. The globalization of financial markets during the 1990s created both enormous opportunities and significant challenges for institutions that had built their reputations on providing personalized service to wealthy individuals and corporations. Swiss banks responded by investing heavily in technology and global infrastructure while maintaining the personal relationships and cultural values that had always distinguished their services. This combination of global reach with Swiss values proved to be a winning formula that attracted clients from around the world. As the 20th century drew to a close, Zurich had completed its transformation from a regional financial centre into one of the world's most important hubs for international banking and wealth management. The city's institutions managed assets worth trillions of dollars, served clients in every corner of the globe, and played crucial roles in financing the economic growth and technological innovation that characterized the modern world. Yet this remarkable success had been built upon foundations laid centuries earlier, when medieval merchants first recognized the opportunities that could be seized by those willing to adapt, innovate, and maintain the highest standards of professional excellence. The challenges that lay ahead in the 21st century would test these institutions in ways that previous generations could never have imagined. Technological disruption, regulatory pressures, and changing client expectations would require the same spirit of adaptation and innovation that had characterized Zurich's response to previous challenges throughout its remarkable history. The dawn of the 21st century brought with it a digital revolution that would fundamentally reshape the landscape of global finance. As computer networks expanded across the world and internet connectivity became ubiquitous, traditional banking relationships faced unprecedented disruption. Yet Zurich's financial institutions, drawing upon centuries of experience in adapting to technological change, recognized that these developments represented opportunities rather than threats for those bold enough to embrace them. Online banking platforms emerged as crucial battlegrounds for client retention and acquisition, as customers increasingly expected to access their accounts and conduct transactions from anywhere in the world at any time of day. Swiss banks invested heavily in developing sophisticated digital interfaces that could provide the same level of security and personalized service that had always characterized their operations. The challenge lay in translating the discrete, relationship-based culture of Swiss banking into digital formats that could compete with purely technology-focused competitors. The rise of hedge funds and alternative investment vehicles created entirely new categories of financial services that required unprecedented levels of mathematical sophistication and risk management expertise. Zurich's private banks found themselves competing not only with traditional competitors, but also with quantitative investment firms that relied heavily on computer algorithms and statistical models. Rather than abandoning their relationship-based approach, Swiss institutions learned to combine traditional client service with cutting-edge analytical capabilities. Regulatory pressures intensified dramatically following a series of financial scandals and market crises that exposed weaknesses in the global financial system. Banking secrecy laws that had been cornerstones of Swiss competitive advantage for generations came under scrutiny from tax authorities and law enforcement agencies throughout the world. The city's financial institutions faced the delicate challenge of adapting to new transparency requirements, while preserving the discretion and confidentiality that remained crucial to their value proposition. The European Union's expansion and regulatory harmonization efforts created both opportunities and challenges for Swiss financial institutions. While Switzerland remained outside the EU, its banks needed to navigate increasingly complex regulatory environments in order to serve European clients effectively. This required substantial investments in compliance systems and legal expertise that added significantly to operating costs, while potentially reducing the competitive advantages that had historically attracted international clients to Swiss institutions. Money laundering concerns became central to regulatory discussions throughout the developed world, as governments sought to prevent criminal organizations from using sophisticated financial systems to hide illicit proceeds. Swiss banks found themselves implementing elaborate due diligence procedures and reporting requirements that fundamentally altered how they conducted business with international clients. The cost and complexity of these compliance efforts created barriers to entry that favored larger institutions while making it more difficult for smaller private banks to compete effectively. Emerging markets throughout Asia, Latin America, and Africa experienced unprecedented economic growth during the early decades of the 21st century, creating entirely new categories of wealthy individuals who required sophisticated financial services. Swiss institutions quickly established operations in these rapidly growing markets, recognizing that future success would depend upon serving clients wherever wealth was being created, rather than simply waiting for them to come to Switzerland. The 2008 financial crisis tested Swiss banking institutions in ways that had not been experienced since the Great Depression, as global credit markets froze and several major international banks faced existential threats. Zurich's financial sector demonstrated remarkable resilience during this period, with most major institutions maintaining their stability and continuing to serve clients throughout the crisis. This performance reinforced Switzerland's reputation as a safe haven for international capital, while providing opportunities to gain market share from competitors who struggled during the downturn. Technological disruption accelerated following the crisis, as mobile computing platforms and cloud-based services transformed how financial services could be delivered to clients. Swiss banks found themselves competing with technology companies that could offer basic banking services at much lower costs, while providing user experiences that often exceeded what traditional institutions could deliver. The response required fundamental rethinking of how value was created and delivered in the financial services industry. Cryptocurrency and blockchain technologies emerged as potentially transformative innovations that could challenge traditional banking intermediation, while also creating new opportunities for institutions capable of adapting to these developments. Swiss regulators took a relatively progressive approach to these innovations, creating regulatory frameworks that allowed legitimate blockchain businesses to operate while maintaining appropriate consumer protections. This approach attracted numerous cryptocurrency and financial technology companies to establish operations in Switzerland. Environmental, social, and governance considerations became increasingly important factors in investment decision-making, as institutional investors and wealthy individuals sought to align their financial activities with their values. Swiss asset management companies developed sophisticated ESG investment strategies that could deliver competitive returns while addressing client concerns about sustainability and social responsibility. This focus on responsible investing created new opportunities for differentiation in an increasingly competitive marketplace. Artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies began transforming how financial institutions could analyze markets, assess risks, and serve clients. Swiss banks invested heavily in these technologies while maintaining their emphasis on human relationships and personalized service. The challenge lay in finding optimal combinations of technological efficiency with the personal touch that had always distinguished Swiss financial services. Geopolitical tensions throughout the world created new demands for politically neutral financial services, as wealthy individuals and corporations sought to protect their assets from the consequences of international conflicts and trade wars. Switzerland's long tradition of neutrality became even more valuable in this environment, as clients appreciated the stability and predictability that Swiss institutions could provide during times of international uncertainty. The COVID-19 pandemic that began in 2020 accelerated many existing trends, while creating entirely new challenges for financial institutions worldwide. Remote working arrangements became standard practice almost overnight, forcing banks to rapidly adapt their operational procedures while maintaining the security and confidentiality standards that clients expected. Swiss institutions leveraged their strong technological foundations and risk management expertise to continue serving clients effectively throughout the crisis. Digital transformation initiatives that might have taken years to implement under normal circumstances were compressed into months, as institutions raced to provide comprehensive online services to clients who could no longer visit physical offices. Video conferencing technology enabled relationship managers to maintain personal connections with clients, while sophisticated cybersecurity measures protected sensitive financial information from the increased threats associated with remote operations. Wealth inequality which had been growing throughout the developed world for decades, became an even more prominent political issue as the pandemic's economic impact fell disproportionately on lower-income populations. This development created both challenges and opportunities for wealth management institutions, as their services became more politically controversial, while demand from ultra-wealthy clients continued to grow. Central bank monetary policies throughout the world became increasingly unconventional as governments sought to stimulate economic recovery through unprecedented levels of fiscal and monetary expansion. These policies created complex investment environments that required sophisticated analytical capabilities to navigate successfully, providing opportunities for institutions that could help clients understand and adapt to rapidly changing conditions. Sustainable finance initiatives gained momentum throughout the industry as both regulators and clients demanded greater attention to environmental and social impacts of investment activities. Swiss asset managers found themselves at the forefront of developing innovative approaches to sustainable investing that could deliver competitive returns while addressing broader societal concerns about climate change and social inequality. The rise of family offices among ultra-wealthy individuals created new competitive dynamics in the private wealth management industry, as some clients chose to establish their own internal investment management capabilities rather than relying on external institutions. Swiss banks responded by developing more specialized and comprehensive services that could compete with internal family office capabilities while providing the scale and expertise advantages that individual families could not replicate. Fintech startups throughout the world challenged traditional banking business models by offering specific services at lower costs and with superior user experiences. Rather than viewing these developments as purely competitive threats, many Swiss institutions chose to partner with or acquire promising fintech companies, combining technological innovation with traditional banking expertise and client relationships. Regulatory technology, or RegTech, emerged as a crucial area of investment for financial institutions seeking to manage compliance costs while maintaining operational efficiency. Swiss banks developed sophisticated systems for monitoring transactions, reporting suspicious activities, and ensuring compliance with the complex web of international regulations that governed their operations. Cross-border tax compliance became increasingly complex as governments throughout the world implemented new reporting requirements and information sharing agreements. The Common Reporting Standard and similar initiatives fundamentally altered how international banking relationships operated, requiring Swiss institutions to collect and share client information in ways that had been unthinkable just decades earlier. Despite these challenges, Swiss financial institutions continued to attract new clients and expand their operations throughout the world. The combination of political stability, regulatory sophistication, and centuries of expertise in serving wealthy international clients provided competitive advantages that proved difficult for other jurisdictions to replicate. The Swiss financial sector adapted to new requirements while preserving the core values and capabilities that had made it successful. Innovation centers and startup accelerators established throughout Switzerland attracted entrepreneurs and technology companies from around the world, creating ecosystems that could support the development of next-generation financial services. These initiatives combined Swiss expertise in finance with cutting-edge technology capabilities, creating new opportunities for collaboration between established institutions and emerging companies. The integration of artificial intelligence into investment management processes enabled Swiss asset managers to analyze vast amounts of data and identify investment opportunities that might not have been apparent through traditional analytical methods. These capabilities provided competitive advantages in increasingly efficient markets while maintaining the human oversight and judgment that clients valued. Blockchain technology applications, beyond cryptocurrency, began finding practical uses in areas such as trade finance, identity verification, and contract management. Swiss banks experimented with these applications while maintaining their traditional emphasis on security and risk management, seeking to harness the benefits of new technologies without exposing clients to unnecessary risks. As Zurich entered the third decade of the 21st century, the city's financial institutions faced a landscape that would have been unimaginable to the medieval merchants who first established its commercial foundations. Yet the fundamental principles that had guided Swiss banking for centuries remained relevant: discretion, reliability, innovation, and an unwavering commitment to serving client interests above all else. The challenges ahead would require the same spirit of adaptation and excellence that had characterized Zurich's response to previous transformations throughout its remarkable history. Technological disruption, regulatory evolution, and changing client expectations would demand continuous innovation while preserving the essential characteristics that had made Swiss financial services unique. The future would belong to those institutions capable of combining cutting-edge technology with traditional Swiss values, delivering global reach with a personal service, and maintaining the highest standards of professional excellence while adapting to an ever-changing world. Zurich's financial sector, drawing upon nearly a millennium of experience in managing such challenges, appeared well positioned to thrive in whatever circumstances the future might bring. The transformation from medieval market town to global financial powerhouse represented one of history's most remarkable examples of sustained adaptation and growth. Yet as the 21st century progressed, it became clear that this transformation was far from complete. New chapters in Zurich's extraordinary story were still being written, each building upon the foundation of expertise, integrity, and innovation that had been carefully constructed over generations of dedicated professionals who understood that success in finance, as in life, belonged to those who combined vision with prudence, ambition with wisdom, and the courage to change with the wisdom to preserve what truly mattered. The modern era has witnessed Zurich's emergence as perhaps the world's most sophisticated centre for private wealth management, a position that reflects not merely the accumulation of assets, but the refinement of an entire ecosystem dedicated to preserving and growing fortunes across generations. Today's Swiss private banks offer services that would astonish their medieval predecessors, yet they remain grounded in the same fundamental principles of discretion, expertise, and unwavering commitment to client interests that have characterized Zurich's financial culture for centuries. Private banking relationships in contemporary Zurich often span multiple generations of the same families, creating bonds of trust and understanding that transcend mere commercial transactions. These relationships are built upon intimate knowledge of client needs, family dynamics, and long-term objectives that enable Swiss bankers to provide advice and services tailored to the unique circumstances of each situation. The personal nature of these relationships distinguishes Swiss private banking from the more transactional approaches common in other financial centres. Wealth management services have evolved to encompass virtually every aspect of a client's financial life, from traditional investment management and estate planning to art acquisition, philanthropic activities, and even family governance structures. Swiss institutions have developed specialised expertise in areas such as succession planning for family businesses, tax optimisation strategies for multinational families, and investment approaches that can preserve wealth across multiple economic cycles and political upheavals. The globalisation of wealth creation has required Swiss banks to establish sophisticated international networks that can serve clients wherever they may reside or conduct business. Modern Swiss private banks maintain offices in every major financial centre, staffed by professionals who understand both local market conditions and the global perspective that characterises Swiss wealth management. This international presence enables seamless service delivery while maintaining the centralized decision-making and risk management that clients expect from Swiss institutions. Technology has transformed the operational capabilities of Swiss banks while preserving the personal relationships that remain at the heart of private banking. Sophisticated portfolio management systems enable real-time monitoring of investments across multiple asset classes and geographic regions, while secure communication platforms allow clients to interact with their relationship managers from anywhere in the world. The challenge has been integrating these technological capabilities in ways that enhance rather than replace the human element that distinguishes Swiss private banking. Regulatory compliance has become an increasingly complex and costly aspect of Swiss banking operations, as international cooperation agreements have required unprecedented levels of transparency and information sharing. The implementation of the Common Reporting Standard, various bilateral tax treaties, and enhanced due diligence requirements have fundamentally altered how Swiss banks conduct business with international clients. Yet these changes have also created opportunities for differentiation, as institutions that can navigate regulatory complexity most effectively gain competitive advantages. The development of sustainable investing as a mainstream approach has created new opportunities for Swiss asset managers to demonstrate their analytical sophistication and long-term perspective. Environmental, social, and governance factors are now integrated into investment processes, not merely to satisfy client preferences, but because these considerations have proven to be material factors in long-term investment performance. Swiss institutions have pioneered approaches to sustainable investing that can deliver competitive returns while addressing broader societal concerns. Alternative investments have become increasingly important components of Swiss wealth management strategies, as traditional asset classes have offered lower expected returns in an environment of unprecedented monetary policy accommodation. Swiss banks have developed expertise in areas such as private equity, hedge funds, real estate, commodities, and other specialized investments that can provide diversification and return enhancement for sophisticated investors. The due diligence capabilities required for these investments build upon centuries of Swiss experience in evaluating complex risks and opportunities. Family office services represent perhaps the most sophisticated evolution of Swiss private banking, offering comprehensive solutions for ultra-wealthy families that go far beyond traditional investment management. These services can include everything from education planning for children to security arrangements for family members, from art curation to philanthropic strategy development. The holistic approach reflects an understanding that truly wealthy families require coordination across multiple aspects of their lives rather than simply investment advice. The rise of financial technology has created both competitive pressures and collaborative opportunities for Swiss financial institutions. Rather than viewing fintech developments as purely disruptive threats, many Swiss banks have chosen to partner with or acquire innovative technology companies, combining Swiss expertise in relationship management and risk assessment with cutting-edge technological capabilities. This approach enables Swiss institutions to offer enhanced services while preserving the personal touch that clients value. Cryptocurrency and digital assets have emerged as new asset classes that require careful evaluation and risk management, areas where Swiss institutions' long experience with alternative investments provide significant advantages. Swiss regulators have taken a progressive but prudent approach to digital asset regulation, creating frameworks that allow legitimate innovation while protecting investors and maintaining financial system stability. This balanced approach has attracted numerous blockchain and cryptocurrency companies to establish operations in Switzerland. Cross-border banking has become increasingly complex as governments throughout the world have implemented new reporting requirements and compliance obligations. Swiss banks have invested heavily in systems and procedures that enable them to serve international clients while satisfying the regulatory requirements of multiple jurisdictions. The expertise required to navigate this complex environment has become a significant competitive advantage for institutions that can manage these challenges effectively. Private markets have grown dramatically in importance as institutional investors and wealthy individuals seek alternatives to public market investments that may offer superior risk-adjusted returns. Swiss banks have developed specialized capabilities in areas such as private equity, venture capital, infrastructure investing, and direct lending that enable them to provide clients with access to these opportunities. The due diligence and risk management capabilities required for private market investing build upon traditional Swiss strengths in credit analysis and relationship management. The next generation wealth transfer that will occur over the coming decades represents both an enormous opportunity and a significant challenge for Swiss private banks. As baby boomer generation wealth passes to younger generations with different values, expectations, and investment preferences, Swiss institutions must adapt their services while maintaining the core competencies that have made them successful. This generational transition requires understanding of both traditional wealth management principles and contemporary concerns about sustainability, technology, and social impact. Artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies are beginning to transform how Swiss banks can analyze markets, assess risks, and identify investment opportunities. These technologies enable processing of vast amounts of data and identification of patterns that might not be apparent through traditional analytical methods. The challenge lies in integrating these capabilities in ways that enhance, rather than replace, the human judgment and relationship management that remain central to Swiss private banking. From a modest Roman customs station called Zurich to the gleaming towers of today's financial district, Zurich's transformation into a global financial powerhouse stands as one of history's most remarkable examples of sustained adaptation and innovation. Through plagues and wars, religious upheavals, and economic crises, the city has consistently demonstrated an almost uncanny ability to turn challenges into opportunities while preserving the core values that have made Swiss banking legendary worldwide. Today, as Zurich's financial institutions manage trillions of dollars in assets and serve clients across every continent, they remain guided by the same principles that drove medieval merchants to success: discretion, reliability, precision, and an unwavering commitment to excellence. The medieval guild halls may have given way to ultramodern trading floors, but the spirit of entrepreneurship and innovation that first made Zurich prosper continues to drive its evolution in an increasingly digital and interconnected world. The story of Zurich reminds us that true success comes not from avoiding change, but from embracing it while staying true to fundamental principles. As new technologies emerge and global financial landscapes shift, one thing remains certain: this remarkable city on the shores of Lake Zurich will continue writing new chapters in its extraordinary journey from medieval market town to the beating heart of global finance.